hypocrisy of the left. Oh, here we go again. We're talking about worst journalist of the year, or I think this year we gave him worst journalist runner-up of the year, and we gave the crown to Chris Cuomo. So runner-up for worst journalist of the year, who's so close to taking that crown before the year's end on January 1st, Don Lemon, once again making an absolute mockery of the sad state of journalism in the modern age, and also, once again, from his liberal elite ivory tower, calling half of the country dumb, which is pretty interesting coming from the mouth of Don Lemon, and comparing the Trump base to a cult, and saying that those who vote for Trump are programmed and need to be deprogrammed. They act like a cult. Once again, interesting coming from the left. I have an entire YouTube channel called The Liberal Hive Mind, and the cult-like behavior that we really see comes from one specific side where they all chant the exact same talking points and shun anybody with an opposing viewpoint. Sounds like a cult to me. But of course, self-awareness level negative 1,000 Don Lemon going on an unhinged rant with his favorite yes man, Chris Cuomo. So wait till I show you guys this, and then we're going to talk about Van Jones and Anderson Cooper and the way that they're treating Biden right now in respect to the president, of course. Wait till I show you this hypocrisy. Of course, the double standard that you'd expect. And before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a new video, since that's by far the best thing you could do to support the channel. Follow me on Twitter, links in the description. Check out my subscribe star, link is also in the description. Check out my merch shop where you can buy the Biden-Harris 2020 A Hands-on President t-shirt, or get one of the items from the I Am Your President gear set, so you can remind all of the Democrats around you that he is, in fact, your president. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright, so before we start, I cut up the most egregious points that runner-up for worst journalist of the year uttered yesterday in respect to the Democrat convention. So let's check out that clip and we'll give it away to Don Lemon.
If I had a real friend who was involved in a cult, which I feel it is cultish behavior, I must try to help them. And you can only go so far until you reach bottom, I cannot deal with it. It's like an addiction. Until you reach bottom and you want help, I can't deal with it. I don't care about whether you're right or left. I've been right. I was a young Republican. And I left. I'm an independent now. And I'm an independent thinker. And so when I'm talking to people who not are smart, but who think they are smart, there's a difference between being smart and thinking you're smart, then I got to let you go. Who lies to them all the time, who gets them to vote against their own interests. So he lies to people and they believe it. And so what is that? Cultish behavior. And I think a lot of people need to be deprogrammed right now before they cast their next ballot.
And yep, like I told you guys, a complete and utter lack of self-awareness. This man is not only unhinged, but seemingly can't even look in the mirror. Self-awareness and the ability to be introspective, or I guess in some cases critically think, isn't necessarily a virtue of the left these days. Don Lemon, who thought a rhino was a hippopotamus, literally talking about 60 million Americans who voted for a specific candidate, the president, as being lesser from an intellectual standpoint. Give me a break. Just because you have some fancy degree and you're $100,000 in student debt doesn't mean you're smarter than the guy who works as an electrician in your neighborhood and probably makes more money than you and doesn't have any student loan debt. So really, who's smarter? But even beyond that, how smart do you have to be to vote for Joe Biden? But of course, I'm getting a little bit facetious there. What's really important here is the whole cult-like behavior. One thing we see from the left is total and utter projection. The true cult is the liberal hive mind. When you're talking about a cult, one thing that's very identifiable is assimilation. Now, of course, when we're talking about assimilating to a country, the left doesn't want any of that. That's racist. But when we're talking about assimilation to a specific ideology, this is where cancel culture is introduced. You must abide by the structure, the ideological pillars of the dogmatic left, or you are canceled. You don't deserve to have a job and put food on the table for your children unless you utter the talking points of the left. Dissent is not allowed. Sounds a little bit cultish to me. During demonstrations, everyone uttering the exact same words. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. And the myriad of different things that they say, sounds a little cultish to me. And this just goes to show how despicable of a human Don really is. And I think it really exemplifies the left in general. They're so condescending, always coming with this complex of intellectual superiority, looking down on you for your lack of a university degree or what you do in a completely bigoted way, where half of these people are paying $4,000 in rent to live in New York or Los Angeles, have no savings, a ton of debt, but they're so intellectual because they read the Communist Manifesto. Give me a break. But let's get off of that really quick. Remember earlier where I said, they're so smart they're voting for Joe Biden. They must be geniuses. And also, remember from a previous video where I showed you guys this clip right here?
The news will say it was the greatest performance in the history of debating. He was brilliant. He was unbelievable. Joe Biden. All he has to do is, if he can make it off the stage and walk back unassisted, they will say it was the single greatest debate performance in history. You know that, and so do I.
Well, turns out that's exactly right. It's exactly what you were expecting. But not only that, it played out in a literal sense, and Van Jones even dropped the mirage and straight up said it. Listen to what Van Jones had to say.
That sound that you hear all across the country is the sound of Democrats exhaling. That's what that is. People would have accepted anything. We just wanted Joe to get out there. So, sometimes when he gets out there, you're afraid he's going to make a mistake. He's going to have a gaffe. The expectations are just so low. We were prepared for it to be a terrible speech. As long as he didn't embarrass himself, we were going to come out here and praise it. You don't have to make nothing up tonight. Joe Biden did that thing.
He straight up admitted that they are a propaganda outlet for the Democrat Party. He literally said it. We don't have to come out here and lie to the American people and pretend like Biden gave a good speech. We don't have to come out and lie and play defense for the Democrat Party because Biden didn't screw up. And that's exactly what they did. He sounded relatively coherent. I mean, he had 4.5 days, probably 3 weeks to prepare this speech and get it down packed. He got through one element of public speaking without having to riff or actually come up with ideas on the spot, which is usually where his gaffes come from. My friends were telling me that it's going to be filled with gaffes, and I told them, no, it's not, because whenever he prepares for something and has a teleprompter, he does okay. It's the moment he goes off script where you get all of these insane gaffes. But after he had his mediocre at best speech, listen to how the talking heads in the media covered it.
I am just like, if I could jump out of the chair, this is the best night for Joe Biden ever.
Joe speak, I said Joe Biden is going to be our next president because there's so many Americans that just wanted to see Joe and Kamala meet that threshold, and they met it and surpassed it.
We're in a very good position. And I'm going to tell you, what he did is so hard to pull off. All the policies in there, but you almost didn't notice it because it was so masterfully woven into the biography and the story and the values. It's hard to do that, man.
With Jake, it may have been the best speech that Joe Biden ever delivered.
Yeah, we've seen a number and heard a number of remarkable speeches by Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, obviously former President Obama.
And so the president was completely right. He said, as long as Joe Biden just gets off the stage without help, the media is going to pretend as if it was the most monumental speech of all time, or the most incredible debate performance of all time. Van Jones said it, and then they literally did exactly that, acting as if Joe Biden is some religious figure who's coming down to save America. Listen, he's had almost 50 years in office. He's had ample time to fix all of the problems that the Democrats are trying to use as leverage to get elected. He's not going to fix the problems. He is the problem. And that's really what Americans need to understand. But for the most part in this video, I think I showed you guys enough clips of these Democrat operatives disguised as journalists all over the media, talking heads, and you guys are smart enough to know exactly the points that I'm trying to make. I think I've spoken enough. The hypocrisy is real, the double standard is frankly disgusting, and all I gotta say to finish this is let's see what happens in November. Hopefully